Hi there, this is Dawn, and I've just felt very compelled to make a short video this morning. I was very inspired by the testimony of Julian Assange a couple of days ago. You can find that online, just Google it. In particular, a phrase that he used early on where he talked about the intervention on his behalf and what should not have been necessary. And that phrase has really been reverberating within me for a lot of reasons. We are in our world, of course, experiencing so many challenges with war and weather events and personal breakdowns and collective systems failures, etc. Some of which is in fact necessary. But I was reflecting on this idea of what should not have been necessary. And I believe many of us have been through situations and circumstances that that deep awareness of what should not have been necessary is right there. Whether that is for a something in the case of, for example, Julian's situation, just involving governments and very entrenched systems, or whether that is in your day-to-day life, what it shouldn't, perhaps you've been through or are going through presently, as so many are, the aftermath of a storm, literally or figuratively, in your life and in your community. And there are things that should not have been necessary, and because, and again, as Julian addressed in his speech, he talked about the fundamentals, and if we get those right, and I think in a sense, a lot of what, unfortunately, in my own work, I feel I've been unsuccessful at, but what it was about and what it was meant to be, an offering to the world. I believe it's meant to have a little bit of help and assistance with that, and that may yet come. And I don't want to make it about me, but what I'm trying to convey here is that the fundamentals of unity consciousness and love and honor and respect and basic human freedoms and rights and responsibilities have been lacking for so many, for so long. And I just felt a need to share that little thought with you today for what it was worth. That can be an invitation for me, for you, for all of us. Let's begin to address where we are able to repair, to shore up our own, first beginning internally, but in our own day-to-day lives, in our own communities, whatever is occurring, because something's occurring everywhere, and in our own families and networks and communities, and certainly, of course, nations and world. And it can be very difficult to see how can I make a difference, and how could I even, the choices that we are given at times seem limiting. And yet I know in my own journey what has, at moments like this where it's easy to see the failures all around us and the absolute, at the least, shaky foundations, but often faulty foundations and illusions, and the beliefs that we could trust certain truths that is being shown to us that maybe not. So I just wanted to just offer today an invitation for us all to anchor into hope, faith, hope, and love, and to begin to look at those foundations. And, perhaps you're called to a particular area of the collective or your own community where you can begin to create new, stronger foundations to rebuild. This is the time to create this new experience of what we truly desire. And to do that, we do have to be real about what is and what is not. So as we move forward now, we've just had the, is it solar eclipse? I always get them confused. I think this was the solar eclipse. And a little bit more time in this transition period. But, the videos that I made about this 7-year transition period, so we've just come through the year of growth and are headed into, believe it or not, the year of passion, and then into beauty. So that's the 7 years, 7-year transition, as I was shown, it does correspond with ultimately anchoring these 7 wonders of the soul, which are faith, hope, love, healing, growth, passion, and beauty. However, of course, to get there, you got to dismantle an awful lot. And so next year, 2025, will be gigantic in terms of the proportion of change that will occur. And trying, and yet the goal, of course, is to lift us up higher and higher and higher. So there is an anchoring that must occur in a true foundation. And that foundation, must be rooted in the whole of who you truly are, into the authentic self. And also collectively, we've got to get back to roots that are healthy. Because when the roots are rotten, nothing can be sustained. And many years ago, before I even understood what the term meant, because we were living in a different world and it seemed like, what is this coming at me? This thing about sustainable systems for a flourishing humanity. And it sounded very lofty and like, first of all, not my job. And second, it seemed very not congruent with what seemed to be there. And I, as many of us, have, I have a different perspective now. I see it clearly. And so the opportunity is all of the systems that we have are ripe for reinvention. And this includes at the individual level. And I'm certainly, kind of evaluating some of that in my own way of walking through the world. And the last thing I want to say, I know this video is a bit everywhere, but I found it just, some of you who've seen my other videos know a little bit more about, kind of my perspective, which is, informed by these soul memories that I've always had. And I've always loved the path of Jesus in terms of how he didn't prescribe things, he just showed up in his life and he walked in the way that was before him. And he knew that I and the Father are one, and he showed that. He demonstrated what love is and who we are and how loved and held we are in creation by something that is so much more than what is presented on a silver platter by the powers of this world and or any other, to be honest. And I've always loved that part of Jesus's teachings in particular. And when Yeshua taught, he he did it through parables or stories and through the example, the living testimony of his life and the way that he walked through his life. And in recent weeks, what's been really interesting, so I've always been, because of my soul memories, always associated my own soul's journey with place, the soul of place, and much of my art is informed by that, and my writing too, in a way, and certainly my spiritual service work, which I don't necessarily talk too much about publicly, but it all has this flavor of journey, walking, showing up, and that is informed very much by my resonance with that part of Yeshua's teachings and his path. And there's a particular time period after the crucifixion and resurrection, and yes, I personally do believe there was a crucifixion, there was a resurrection, and yes, there was a before Jesus. There was a all the interesting parts that are kind of missing from the story and in our reality here, which whatever, I don't get it, but there certainly there was a 7-year-old Jesus, and there was a 17-year-old Yeshua, and there was a 33-year-old, and there was after, and a part of the for my own. Separating out a bit from the Jesus story, for my own soul's memory, there's a real resonance with that period of after. And all my life I fought against internally, like I didn't want anything. I didn't want to hear the French language. I didn't want to go to France. I didn't want anything to do with France. And then, of course, I ended up in France despite my effort not to, in 2016, twice that year. And I made the journeys, many of them and I went to the places. There's still more to go to, but it was healing for me. It was very healing. And in a large sense, there was at that time, an awareness on my part and a willingness to let go of all the illusions of what sustains, and to stay with what my soul remembered and what I knew. And so there was a walking in the way that happened in those, and it was a circling back in a way, but also an upliftment of my own awareness. And that's the reason I'm sharing that is I feel very strongly that this is our opportunity now, wherever you are. You don't have to go somewhere to do it. You can do it in your own backyard. You can do it in your bedroom. You can do it through meditation and connection, because really that's what it's about. It's about connecting to your soul's essence, to the story of life alive in you. It's about remembering what you already know, and it's about living that, embodying that, because the world needs that, because that will return us to the authentic roots, and it will in time, as we each do that individually and in communities, it will in time heal what is so damning and so harmful and what tears us apart in this world. And so, in recent years, I've been, and actually in recent months, I've been really drawn back to not only that time in France, but in my own life, this idea of the soul's journey. And one of the, there are particular points along this path that I remember, and I've always been drawn to the Camino de Santiago, but I've never walked it. I think I walked a teeniest bit of it when I was in France, but like haphazardly for like a half a mile or something. But the part, I've never been to the Portugal, Spain part, and I have a connection, as you know if you follow me, to Yeshua and his family, and to James, the brother of Jesus. And recently, about all of a sudden too, it was so ironic. about 5 different people that I'm connected to online primarily. Suddenly we're all in the Camino de Santiago on different, or at least several of them, in different groups that were not connected. So it wasn't like just one big thing and everybody was on it. And I was able to, I knew it was an invitation for me to return to that truth within me, and I was able to follow their journey, and it really circled me back to what was lost in that time. So after the death of Yeshua and the Council of Jerusalem, and the fall of Rome, and etc. There were many things that happened in that first century, and yeah, I won't. That could be like a year of videos, but I won't do that. And by the way, if you're interested in, I do write about that, but not directly. I tell the story, very narrowly through some poetry, and I recently released the Magda poems and another set of journal entries about that experience. You can find that on my website. But what I'm trying to say is this idea of walking in the way, and the journey is a healing one always. It is a letting go. And you've also probably heard me say, if you've watched things I've done before, that my longtime favorite song, one of my favorite songs, was always Leave It Behind by U2. All that you've fashioned, all that you've made. Just go look up the lyrics. You'll see what I mean. But as I was following these people who were being so courageous and walking the Camino, and I was remembering, I was connecting to this idea of journey, and thinking about all the journeys I had made, the literal ones, to different places that I have gone, and where I've been called to the soul of place, which has been really, really amazing. And I was thinking about how this is what we are always doing, even if it's not going to places. This is how we move through our lives, and this is where the beauty unfolds. And that path to beauty must go through the faith, hope, love, healing, growth, passion. And to get to the faith, hope, love, healing, growth, passion, and this is where you can watch those videos I did at the beginning of the pandemic, where I did the 7-year passage to a new society and the 12 diamond dimensions. To get to those, there must be a dissolution, a dismantling, an uncovering of what of the faulty foundations, and that is the opportunity of our time, and this being with in the day, the journey, and with your eyes wide open to what is, so that we can create together this passage to a new society. We can together step into the realm of radiance, and to see ourselves as belonging to that world, because that is part of what must be released, is this idea that we belong to the chaos and confusion that we see. And for those who may be clinging to that, and as I have at times as well, which is kind of our human nature, to this is all I have left, and I think that there's a quote. I said, is it Rumi? I don't think it's Rumi, it's somebody else, but it's in the beginning of my Birds of a Feather book, which again, had no idea. It was insistent though. Spirit was like, you must write these things down and just put them with your bird pictures. And I'm like, I'm not a photographer, that's crazy. But I did it, and they took me to a poem. I just cannot remember for the life of me who this is, but it's the idea of it's always darkest before the dawn. And so take heart, if you are in the darkness, if the storms are have swept away all you knew, if things feel unsteady and uncertain and unsure, as they do for, so many of us, and take heart and be on the way and know that you are loved and that you are love. You are light, you are life, you are love, and you will be sustained. You will be sustained. Your soul will have all that is needed, and it will be well with your soul. And together, my hope and my desire is that together we come out of this on the other side, and we look again, and as we're going through it, at the beauty of all creation, and we see what God saw, that it is good, and we give thanks, and then we regain our strength, and we rise up into that realm of radiance, and we create the foundation for a new world, a new era rich in love, one where we are able to see the map of where we've been and know where we are going. And if you have not, whatever you think of Julian Assange or what he did or whatever, I would invite you to listen to the words of what he has spoken. Obviously he's talking about journalism and, the particular systems that he encountered in his journey. But I feel like there's something beautiful there for all of us, again, whatever your perspective is. And look for that in this day and in all that unfolds in the next several months as we move into 2025. Last note, I'll be back at some point. I'm only able to do what I'm able to do. And I am trusting that somehow, just the emanation, this is what I think we all have to do. We all have to trust that it's enough if we just walk with the truth that we do carry and we share it as we're able to. But if it doesn't work and you can't package it up neatly and show up and, speak with conviction and all that stuff, it's okay, right? I'm saying this to myself, yeah, but I'm also saying it to you because I have encountered so many people recently who, and I've read stories also, so personally, but also I've seen people who, like, for example, who had established a foundation, for example, physically, perhaps some of them, and more spiritually, others of them, and anchored it in, and then something happened to sweep it all away. And since this video has gone on forever and has rambled so much, I'm going to go ahead and speak to one thing. I made a video about this, but I could not share it because it was too potentially damaging. So I'll just leave it there while the helicopter flies overhead. Sorry, shake it off. Here's how I'm going to say this, and you're going to have to read between the lines. But last year, beginning around the time of late October, there were some very dark energies and nefarious activities at work. Again, this happens multidimensionally, and I'm not going to go into the details of it, but what I will say is recently, about a month ago or so, I was led to a particular place, as I often am. Beautiful place. But I realized when I got to a particular spot that I was called there by a particular individual who has passed, and by my guides and teams, and what came all at once without my awareness or thinking, because that's how most things that I share that mean anything come to me. They don't come through the thinking. Was that an awareness and a realization of something that happened between late October of last year and around December probably extended through about the middle of December. I'm not clear on the exact dates, but there were some things that happened at multidimensional levels where there was an infiltration, and that resulted in many people who held a great deal of light, being an energy came in sideways for many of those individuals, and I'll put myself in that category, and it affected us all differently, of course. But there were a particular window of time in the third week of November through early December, those last 2 weeks of November, for some reason I don't really understand, and I was shown sort of these boom, 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 like they had successfully targeted many strong, warriors of the light, or whatever you want to call that. And it was intentional. And I was shown many things, but mostly with people that I'm aware of who do hold that sort of energy, that were devastating. I don't know the details, of course, but I do think that much was lost. Let's just leave it at that. And there were particular dates, actually, I was given to November 19th, November 17th. Oh, I forgot the other one. There was, and I don't understand. It has something to do with the misuse of geometries, or I don't really understand how or what the origin was. The good news is that, that many of us who may have encountered something around that time, and it was different for all of us. For some, it was the manipulation of a weakness that we perhaps have encountered in this life. For others, it was just an absolute sheer exhaustion that then led to a domino effect in a series of events that were the events themselves were manipulated in some cases. And so I was shown this, and I was like, well, what does that mean, and what can I do about that? And so I wanted to share that, I think, just in that format. There's much more I said in that video, but like I said, I just feel that it's not safe to, and so the video is gone. I may say more in the future about that, but I just wanted to share that if you did encounter anything around that period at the end of last year, be gentle with yourself and know that in time, the truth will be revealed, the true truth, higher than the truth of the, quote, facts, right, as they are presented in this reality. And all shall be lifted up, and we are created free, meant to live free. And for freedom, only fly for freedom is my little saying. And there have been times, in my own journey where I'm like, what is freedom, right? What is truth? All the big questions. And the thing is, we need to ask those questions, because we're invited to redefine those. And so take heart, keep the faith, carry hope in your heart, And wherever possible in the moment, see through the eyes of love, you know. And as you stand before the day and greet the day, see those trees in the sunshine, and there's you probably cannot see it, but there's a red-headed woodpecker and a hawk out there. But as you greet each day, touch wonder, and dance with mystery, and see beauty, and know that you are that. See yourself as that. Forgive yourself and others wherever possible. And it's always possible. And walk forward and walk in the way. And be one with the way, because in a sense we all are the way. So I love you, and I know this was a very long and unwieldy video. I hope if you have watched it, you gained something from it. And it was important for me to speak it. Lots of love. Bye-bye.